Brandon Cutler here from AEW, and I hope you guys have an awesome podcast with the MonsterCast.
What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, Fightful here. You're watching the MonsterCast with Jack and Ryan. A big shout out to those fellas. Good people. Check them out.
Here's your host of the MonsterCast, the Straight Edge Monster, Jack and Ryan.
So, Elimination Chamber review, we're going to go through all 5 matches. We're going to start off with the Women's Elimination Chamber match, where Asuka defeated Carmella, Liv Morgan, Natalya, Nikki Cross, and Raquel Rodriguez in an Elimination Chamber match for the number 1 contendership to go against Bianca Belair for the WWE Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania 39. What did you think of this match? We obviously both picked Asuka, so we got that right. So we thought that was the right call. What did you think of it going in, and what was up with the times? The match was only 19 minutes and 30 seconds, but they're supposed to be 5-minute intervals. Did you catch that at all? Or like, what do you think was going on there? And did you? I mean, obviously we think Asuka was the right call, but who else do you think stood out in that match?
So the time thing, leading up to the match, Michael Cole, when he's introducing the concept of the match, he actually says a few minutes in between. So I think they've come off the 5-minute thing, and I don't even think they were consistent times in between them. I really think now they're just doing it based on the booking of the match. So like, it's going to be an inconsistent time between when people come in, because it's supposed to be relatively even, but it's clearly not. It wasn't in the men's either. I think if we went back with a stopwatch and counted, it was probably like 2.5 minutes here, 3.5 minutes there, 4 minutes here. Like, there's no consistency to it anymore. That's why they don't have a countdown. They can still do a countdown. They could do it the exact same way and then put up a countdown for the 10 seconds thing, which is what the flashing light thing is supposed to be, I guess. But like, there's no hard rule about the 5-minute thing anymore, clearly, because this was not that at all. Yeah, we both wanted. I think we both wanted Asuka to win, so we both picked her to win. But also, just nobody else in the match made sense to win. Like, if you look at who else in that match would have made sense going against Bianca at WrestleMania, who's going to draw at all? It's not going to be Nikki Cross. It's not going to be Carmella. It's not going to be Liv Morgan. Natalya, it's not in Canada, so not that either. And then Raquel, unless they're really trying to build her up as a character and give her some kind of legitimacy and give Bianca a match like where it's like powerhouse versus powerhouse or whatever, it wouldn't make sense to do that either. And she doesn't, I don't know what the fuck her character's supposed to be. Like, I get that she's Hispanic and lifts weights is the most that I've gotten out of her character, which doesn't really work because she's not that big. Like, she's not small, but she's tall. But weightlifting wise, if you're going to make your whole gimmick about that, I feel like you can't just do a lat spread and look like you lift sometimes and be like relatively. Like, it doesn't work.
Not when the other WrestleMania match is Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte, and Rhea Ripley is bigger than you, yeah.
Or even like on this show, Beth Phoenix looks bigger than you too. She's not taller, but she looks like thicker, wider, stronger. It just, I don't get what her thing is. And in a match where everybody else in the match had a gimmick, it really stood out to me as like almost like a generic creator wrestler, like stuck in the middle of these people who have established characters. Now, granted, she hasn't been there as long as everybody else either. But they've got to do something with that. She needs
If
more.
you wanted to make her look like she was a beast, wouldn't it have made more sense to have Piper Niven in that match and have her slam her at some point in that match or something to really give off that effect?
Yeah, something like that. But even like when she does that lat spread on the ramp or whatever, and like the girl that I dated for years who she wasn't like a fucking power lifter or anything like that. She lifted. She worked out a lot, but she had a wider lat spread than that. So it's just very weird to me that that's what they're building her character around. I don't get it.
Yeah, the other thing was like, and clearly that's what they're kind of going for anyway, because Carmella kept mentioning her back on SmackDown. Yeah, we got a big back. Congratulations. But like, I mean, it's probably a situation where she looks smaller on TV than she actually is in real life too. Let's go ahead and say that could be a thing too, because that's the thing that everybody says about Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn is huge in real life, and nobody really can tell on TV, unless he's in there with smaller guys, obviously. And he looks bigger, but How do you think Liv Morgan, Carmella, Natalya, Nikki Cross came off in this match?
As kind of like I expected them to. Honestly, I thought Liv Morgan had a couple cool spots. I think the sunset flip powerbomb on Raquel was pretty cool from the top of the pod or wherever it was. The way that she got eliminated, I didn't like. I thought they do this thing too much where it's like you can't tap out. It looks bad to tap out.
Yeah, all faces have the heart of a lion.
Yeah, it's so stupid. And the facials that she did during it was like she was enjoying it and then fell asleep. Like it didn't work for me. I didn't like it. I feel like if you're in a submission for like a minute and a half, that is Natalya's finisher, that's her finishing submission, and you're fighting it and fighting it and fighting it, that part's fine. I'm cool with that. I don't know where she was crawling because I don't think there's rope breaks in a fucking Elimination Chamber. So her crawling to the rope didn't make any sense. But ignoring that, then you have Asuka come in and put on a hold on top of that hold. To sit there and act like you're too strong, too determined to fucking tap out at that point is really dumb to me. I don't like that. I wish I'd stopped doing it. Make the tap outs mean something. It would have meant something here. You've got two of like somebody's using their finisher and then one of the best wrestlers also putting a second submission on you. Both working the same like part of your body. It's okay to tap out. You don't have to do the and then fall asleep thing. It doesn't work for me. I didn't like it.
I don't think there's rope breaks either, but if you get to the rope, you might be able to
leverage
out of it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I guess, but yeah, I didn't like it. I thought that doing that elimination that way didn't work for me. Should have just had her tap. It would have been totally fine. Everything else was pretty cool. I didn't really have a problem with too much. You know what I did have a problem with? Carmella hitting one super kick on Natalya, and then that being enough to take Natalya out. I wasn't crazy about. Because it's not like Natalya took a lot of other damage in the match before that happened. I mean, she was in first, but it wasn't like she got super fucked up by a bunch of finishers or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know how I felt about that. That was a little weird to me. I think she could have maybe kicked out of that one and then taken another finisher from someone else and then gotten put out. I would have liked that a little bit more. So, other than that,
I did like the Rodriguez spot where she ran Nikki Cross through the plexiglass. That was pretty cool. Mm. But yeah, like I don't know her character either, dude. Like I don't get it. I thought she lasted longer than she should have. I think Natalya should have lasted longer than Rodriguez did, but I get what they're doing, I guess, because Natalya is up there, but Natalya's also still in Montreal and a workhorse and just a safer option going forward in that match. Like less of a chance of something getting completely fucked because she's also a ring general and if somebody loses their way, she can help them.
I think Raquel was out like a minute after Natalya anyway, so it wasn't too big of a problem, but still, yeah, I didn't like it.
But yeah, Asuka obviously the right call in that one, and Asuka versus Bianca is going to be something that I'm actually looking forward to at WrestleMania. And it's not even something where I really have a side in the match. I think I'm gonna pick Asuka when the predictions come, just because she's the one with the revamped character, and Bianca's had it for such a long time. Bianca's got her win at WrestleMania, Asuka hasn't. So all those things are in favor of Asuka winning it, but I'm not going to come on here and be like, oh, that was the wrong call. Bianca should have won, or Bianca should have lost. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's going to be like an actual match that I'm looking forward to seeing just the match and not worried about the outcome type deal and if they got it right. So
people don't really think about this part of it either, but Asuka's over 40. Like, you don't realize it looking at her because she paints her face, and then even when she's not got her face painted, she doesn't look old. Like, she doesn't look older at all.
Can't tell in the ring either because she's still running circles around your whole rockin' roster. So
yeah, but she's literally 1 year younger than Beth Phoenix, and people don't realize that. And Beth Phoenix has been retired for years, so it's an interesting thing when you think about it from that perspective, because she's almost like the AJ Styles of the women's division, in the sense that it doesn't seem like age is slowing her down in any significant way. Like, she's adjusts her style, or she changes her character up a little bit and still can pull off like great matches. So I don't know if WWE is going to be considering that, though. Or are they going to be like, you're a little bit older, you're in the twilight of your career, or do they see her as somebody that's still got another 5-6 years left, like they also might with like an AJ Styles? But she would be like pretty much the oldest woman on the roster to still be in the top spot, if that makes sense. And I don't know how they're viewing that. So I don't know if they do have her go over Bianca, but I think they should.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Next up on the list, the worst match of the night. Bobby Lashley defeated Brock Lesnar by DQ in a singles match in 4 minutes and 45 seconds, and you had a lot of issues with the way this match was presented to everybody.
Yeah, I was texting throughout it. I didn't like it because you've got two guys that are NCAA like national champions, like huge collegiate wrestling standouts. That's their whole background. That's where they came from. Like that's what they were known for before they ever got into this industry at all. And instead of doing like a really cool sequence of them starting off that match and having like a chain wrestling thing for 3 or 4 minutes, which would be cool as fuck, you immediately go into like, oh, we're hitting spears, we're hitting finishers, we're escaping our other finishers, we're doing more finishers. It's finisher spam bullshit, like every Brock Lesnar match ends up being. Instead of doing something actually like interesting and innovative and that calls on both of their backgrounds and both of their characters and like really simulates what this is supposed to be about, which is like two big fucking dudes battling for supremacy. And I feel like an amateur wrestling thing where they're like grappling with each other and like trying to fucking get one up on each other and overpower the other one, that makes way more sense than let me hit a spear, hit an F5, hold a fucking full Nelson, do another spear. Like that shit sucks. I hate it. It wasn't interesting.
Do you ever notice that Brock Lesnar, when he has these matches against guys, it's always the big guys that he has the spam finishers with, and then the smaller guys who he doesn't want to take their finishers, he's actually wrestles with them. So like the CM Punk, the AJ Styles, the Finn Balor's, he actually wrestles with them because he doesn't want to take their fucking finishers and do all their moves because he doesn't want to take that shit because he's not used to it. But then if it go against a Goldberg or Undertaker or a fucking Lashley, it's finisher spam fest.
You know, one of the matches that I always go back to with Lesnar is the Daniel Bryan match, because that was a really fucking good match. You have him just dominating Bryan at the start. Bryan ends up getting one up on him and then is like stomping his face in with the stomps and stuff. Leaves a fucking shoe print on his face. Like legitimately looks like he's about to maybe win. I want to say that was Survivor Series or something because I remember both of them were champions at the time. But like that was a really good match with a smaller dude. He can clearly wrestle a long match. He can clearly lay out a good match, or someone else can lay one out for him and have him follow it. So I don't know why he does this shit. It's not interesting. It's not good. I'm about to lose, so I just instinctively dick kick the dude and then get mad about it afterward and tear everything up so I still look strong. This shit sucks. I hate it. We know for a fact that he can do so much better than this. But at the end of the day, if I'm Brock Lesnar and I get paid the same money either way, and I don't really care that much about like having great matches, maybe I do this too. So it's not like I fault him personally. I fault whoever allows it to be booked this way, because they know they can do cooler shit.
The Daniel, I think I like the Danielson match a little bit more, but I think the Punk one is underrated too, because this is when Paul turned on Punk and Punk went back face after his long reign as champ, and Lesnar, he went against Lesnar or whatever because Paul went back with Lesnar, and then Punk had like the Wolverine chops, and he was like supposed to be Wolverine where he wasn't gonna give up, and he kept fucking going after Lesnar no matter what, and Lesnar's basically fucking like Apocalypse Thanos, you know, something like that, and fucking just destroying him and shit, and that match was really fucking well done story-wise as well. But yeah, it seems like the smaller guys he does really good against. I think it would have been hilarious if Lashley just started out the match and got on all fours and said, "Let's go, motherfucker." Yeah. Like, come take me and see if you can actually fucking out-wrestle me. I don't know if Lashley has that much confidence in himself. I think he does. But it would have been fucking, I think that would have been great just to see, even if it wasn't scheduled or planned, just to fuck with Lesnar, just to see if he would do it or see what his reaction would be. Or it's either going to be, okay, I'm going to do it, or one, I'm going to just laugh at you and stand in this corner until you get up because I'm not doing it, or two, you're about to piss me off because you're trying to make me look like a little bitch, and I'm going to kick you in the fucking ribs as hard as I can, or you're in the face. Do like Braun Strowman, they'll give you the two-piece combo, slow the fuck down, you know, something like that. That would have been fucking hilarious.
It reminds me of, I don't know if you remember this, but back when Luke Harper was in the Rumble with Chad Gable, they were doing background spots. They're just supposed to be like punching, whatever. And Brody decides that he's going to shoot for a fucking single leg takedown on Chad Gable just to see if he can. And Chad Gable just fucking sidesteps and puts him down on the mat. He's like, I got to go now. And he walks over and does a German suplex spot that he was supposed to do on somebody else, while Harper's just sitting on the fucking ground like, what the fuck just happened? You can see video of it. They wasn't focused on, but he talked about it on Twitter later. It was the funniest fucking thing to go back and watch. Because Chad Gable just does not give a fuck. Just done with him immediately. So yeah, I think that would have been interesting to see what would happen if he had done something like that. But I get so bored of this shit, man. You could do so much cooler stuff with both these guys, especially against each other, and they just went for the easy, boring shit. I hate it.
Now, I don't know if that's also in due to part because, Bray Wyatt had challenged the winner on SmackDown. Is he going to come in and go against Lashley or Lesnar or a triple threat? We don't really know because Brock only won by DQ, so it's not like he really won. Or Lashley really won because Brock lost by DQ, I should say. And then maybe they know that the Montreal crowd was not going to like it either, so if that was the plan, they decided to keep it short and sweet and get the fuck out of there and give more time to the other 4 matches that were actually based off a work rate to an extent.
But they literally could have done like an interesting
no, I completely agree with that. But when you look at the other 4 matches on the card and how much time they got, is what I'm saying. It's like, do we want to go that route at an Elimination Chamber when you already got all this other stuff on there?
Okay, cut the fucking 6 minutes of standing there out of the end of the last match.
No, I completely agree with everything you're saying. It's just I don't think that's how they were viewing it. And then, of course, like if Lesnar is going to do something like that, it's going to be at SummerSlam or WrestleMania, not Elimination Chamber. So no, I agree with you. I feel like they should have went that way too, because one, it would have been something different, and everybody would have been talking about it today.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
I mean, people still talk about
no one's talking about Lesnar versus Lashley today.
People still talk about Kane and Big Show having that match that was like just nothing but chain wrestling for the first few minutes, because it was so weird and so unusual. But if you have 2 guys that actually do it on like a pay-per-view as part of their like head-to-head big fucking bulls butting horn shit, like I just feel like it would have come off really cool, and it was a total missed opportunity.
All right, so how do you think they should? What should Lesnar, Lashley, and Bray Wyatt be doing going into WrestleMania?
I don't think Lashley needs to be involved at all anymore. I think Lashley can literally just say, look, I've beaten you before. I threw you out at the fucking Rumble, and you knew I had you at the end, and you had no way to get out except for to cheat and get disqualified. I don't have anything to do with you anymore. I've already proven I'm better. I don't know.
Because Bray Wyatt said he wanted the winner, and technically Lashley is the one that won.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's probably what it is. So maybe Lashley comes out, cuts that promo, says he's done with Lesnar. He's proven his point. And then you have Wyatt come out. I mean, that makes sense.
I thought with a 4-minute and 45-second match, they missed a real opportunity to have Bray Wyatt come back in front of the Canadian audience again, who hasn't seen him in forever, and at least have him come out to the stage afterwards, after Lashley won. Like, I would have preferred that over the Brock Lesnar having a meltdown and destroying referees and all this shit and stuff like that.
Maybe have Lashley and Lesnar tag team against Uncle Howdy.
Yeah, but on SmackDown, Wyatt and Howdy were tag teaming on Hit Row though. So like now they get along. I don't understand. This shit doesn't make any sense. But it'll be interesting to see where they go with those 3 going into WrestleMania. Next up, we had a 13-minute and 50-second match between Edge and Beth Phoenix, where they defeated Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley in a mixed tag team match. What did you think of this match? I personally thought,
it felt
from what I saw, if Beth Phoenix wanted to be full-time again, and we just mentioned her age and how she's a year older, you said, than Asuka, right?
Older than Asuka.
She could, if she wanted to, if she wasn't a stay-at-home mom and all that stuff. Like, she could legit be a full-time wrestler again. Like, she was doing that good.
I agree. Yeah, I think she looked really good in it. I did like the Nakano tribute face paint. That was pretty cool. We did talk about how this match could play out, and then, Edge going over Finn Balor and all that stuff on the prediction show. I thought that you save something like this for like a WrestleMania moment to give Edge and Beth their big win or whatever, and then you don't have Ripley going into something like WrestleMania with the loss. But I guess they protected her as best they could.
Well, the other thing we didn't talk about on the show when I discussed, hey, Edge is going to go over Balor here because it helps Rhea Ripley. It also helps the fact that he hasn't wrestled in Montreal in 17 years. So that was another thing that I didn't think about until they had mentioned it live, and I was like, oh, now it definitely makes sense for why they had it here instead of like a WrestleMania type deal. Yeah.
I liked the match. I do have the same problem with every Rhea Ripley match where she's like super fucking distracting to the point where it's like sometimes hard to pay attention to the fucking match. And I don't make that comment about a lot of people or a lot of wrestlers or whatever, but like it's hard sometimes. But they wrestled a really good match. I think that Finn Balor, he seems lost on the card right now to me. I don't know what you do with him after this.
Yeah, I'm not feeling the prison Mike Deathstroke Finn Balor. This shit is weird.
He's the leader of a faction that doesn't win anything except for Rhea.
leader of a faction that's not supposed to have a leader. That was their whole fucking reason for kicking Edge out. Remember?
Yeah.
And he's clearly the leader, but he's losing every fucking thing. It's so stupid.
I think Rhea's the leader. Yeah, I don't know what they do from here. I think Edge at the press conference obviously apparently challenged Austin Theory for the U.S. title. Beth Phoenix probably not going to do anything going forward. Judgment Day, I mean, if Edge is challenging for the U.S. title, then I don't think Balor's got anything to do with anything. I don't know what you do with him, man. But he's another one of those guys, too. Like, he's deceptively old. He's also 41. Doesn't look it at all. Doesn't look a day over fucking, 33. But he's also sort of in that point in his career where he's got to kind of be like, okay, like, what am I doing from here, too? Like, how's the twilight of my career play out? Because he's got, 4 or 5 years.
The rumor that I read about Balor going into WrestleMania was that him and Edge were going to have a one-on-one match for the last time, and it was going to be Brood Edge versus Demon Finn Balor.
Okay. Why aren't you the Demon all the time if that's what you win as?
That's a great question. I was expecting him to be Demon Finn Balor against Lesnar, and this motherfucker came out without it, and I was like, well, you lost. Like, come on, man. At least it would have made me think that you had a fucking shot if you came out as Demon Finn Balor. Yeah, no, I agree with that, too. That's so dumb to me. But I do not like this stable at all. The best part about the stable is Rhea Ripley is able to use the stable as a catapult to get more dubs and get back in the limelight. It hasn't done any favors for anybody else. I can't sit here and say that Dominic hasn't gotten better on the mic. He's just still not good. And I think his character is stupid. But I'm not going to sit here and say that he's still...
I love his character. His character's funny as fuck.
It's so dumb. And the best... I guess the funniest part about it is when Corey Graves and others act like he really is hardcore now because he went to prison for 5 days or whatever. Like, oh my god, it's so funny. But no, it's still corny as hell overall, and it's like I still want to see him get his ass beat, and he's still not that good in the ring type deal. And it's clearly they're building up to Ray versus Dominic at Mania.
My thing is, like, it's corny as hell, it's really fucking goofy, but at least it's something. Like, it's something that he can, like, sink his teeth into, work with, like, try to grow from. He's clearly, like, visibly gotten better on the mic a lot since he started. From having this to do, like, I don't hate it, man. I used to fucking hate every time he was on the television screen, and now it's just like I only hate it like 30% of the time. So good for him. I don't mind any of it, and the "fuck you, Dominic" chants were really funny to me, actually. All
right, let's move on to Austin Theory, who might be getting his open challenge answered by Edge tomorrow night on Raw. Yeah. He defeated Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, Johnny Gargano, Montez Ford, and Seth freaking Rollins in the Elimination Chamber match for the WWE US Championship in 31 minutes and 30 seconds. Obviously, a lot of people are talking about Logan Paul and everything, and of course, Triple H at the press conference decided to think. He said Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, Johnny Gargano, Seth Rollins, Austin Theory, Logan Paul, the referee, the Sami Zayn's wife, everybody did a really good job in the Elimination Chamber Men's US Championship match, but he omitted Montez Ford, and that really annoyed me. I went straight to social media as soon as he said it, and of course it blew up, because everybody was like, damn, I thought I was the only one that didn't hear it. On Black History Month, by the way, in Black History Month, you omitted Montez Ford, who was the MVP of the match. Yeah. If you take out MVP, that match is garbaggio. And of course, all he's focused on is, Logan Paul did such a great job because he came in and did 2 moves, and one of them was Adam Page's, and one of them was Seth Rollins' move. Like, well, come on, man. So, yeah, he went on social media and also thanked Montez Ford, but too little, too late by that point. No, Montez Ford is who you start out with in that match, saying that, hey, he came off as a big star in that match.
Yeah, he did. And it's funny because you've got a guy who's got 2 of the 5 eliminations in the match, and then forget to mention him. Kind of weird. You've got a guy who had probably the most memorable spots in the match, except for maybe the Gargano Rollins Hurricane Run off the top of the pod or whatever. Other than that, every memorable spot either involved Ford or was Ford. It was very.
And then Triple H, when he's done these last 2 press conferences, he comes out with this paper. Like, clearly he's been taking notes so he can thank the right people, and you still forgot him. Come on.
Yeah.
How was his name not written down on the paper, dude? Not everybody is 2002, 2003 Booker T and you in a fucking feud, bro. Like, come on. You need to start giving credit where it's due. Come on, man. Come on. Stop being racist, dude. Like, come on, that's bullshit.
I think I picked Bronson Reed to win this, and you picked Theory. They did book Bronson Reed pretty strong. It took 4 finishers to get him pinned and out.
I feel like they booked everybody pretty strong, considering that everybody was in the match before anybody got eliminated too. That helped.
Yeah,
Bronson Reed was the first one eliminated, but they couldn't eliminate him until everybody was in the match to do all those finishers.
Priest wasn't booked super strong. He was there. I don't remember him having like huge spots except for throwing around Johnny a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's clear that they're trying to do something with him, but I guess the U.S. title isn't it. And they were really putting him over big on commentary. They gave him a couple really cool spots too, like carrying around 2 people at once and doing the fallaway slam and all that stuff. They clearly see something in him, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, he did the Razor's Edge too.
Priest?
Yeah, he does the Razor's Edge now.
Yeah, I'm talking about Reed though. So Reed had the spot where he
Okay, yeah.
had the 2 people on his shoulders, was stomping around with him and did the fucking fallaway slam. The old Ryback spot on jobbers, but on actual wrestlers. So they clearly see something in him. They want to do something with him. It wasn't the U.S. title, I guess, but the way they were putting him over on commentary and stuff, I'd be surprised if they don't have something for him going forward. And again, one of the whole reasons I ended up picking him was because they talked him out of New Japan, where he had just like beaten Okada in the G1 and was doing all this stuff and clearly being taken pretty seriously over there as Jonah. So whatever they told him they were going to do with him, it's got to be something, right? They're not just going to have him middling on the low end of the card forever. So I don't know what they do with him, but I am glad that they presented him like a serious threat, like a big, strong man. It wasn't like the Otis spot. It was like a legitimate like threat. It wasn't just like, I'm strong, but I'm still a goofy fucking comic character thing. It was like, I'm strong and I can hurt you.
I feel like they came off that as that anyway when they all had to do their move and team up on him anyway. They viewed him as a serious threat. That's why they're like, okay, everybody's in here. Let's get this motherfucker out first.
Yeah.
Not the bullshit like they do in the Royal Rumble where they talk about it and then somebody turns on somebody and then the big dude's still in there and it's fucking stupid. But anyway.
Gargano gets like no reaction. Did you notice this?
Yeah, no. I mean, why would he? Anyway, so he's not going to get any reaction on the show. Anyway, so Seth Rollins and Logan Paul on a scale of 1 to 10. How hyped are we for that? Do you feel like they're wasting a WrestleMania year with Rollins here going against Logan Paul?
Zero hype. Don't give a fuck. Regardless of who wins, either Seth Rollins wins because he's supposed to, or Logan Paul wins because he's the celebrity and makes Rollins look bad. Waste of a fucking year for WrestleMania for Seth Rollins. This is like one of the best wrestlers that you have on your roster, and you're putting him in these goddamn celebrity matches. And I don't care if Logan Paul's like, I love wrestling, I want to come do wrestling. He's never going to be full-time. He's always going to be pulled in for these pay-per-view spots. He's not going to wrestle a fucking match on SmackDown. Why are we wasting spots on... Why are we wasting Seth Rollins spots? That's a real question. If you wanted to do this match, if you wanted to set it up with like... Even like Edge or something, I would be more okay with this, right? But Seth Rollins is still young. Still relatively young. Austin Theory acts like he's fucking old. But still relatively young. Still one of the top guys, if not the top guy in the ring that you have on this roster. And you're putting him in this like stupid shit that nobody cares about. Like, the idea of it obviously is like, oh, Seth Rollins is a big name and Logan Paul's a big name in the mainstream and maybe it'll get more eyes if we put them together. The people that are going to watch for Logan Paul will watch for Logan Paul regardless of who he's against. So stop wasting Seth Rollins' fucking time. I don't like this. I think it's a bad idea. It's a waste of Rollins as a member of the roster when you could be doing something so much cooler with him on WrestleMania.
All right, and then moving on to the final match on the card, Roman Reigns defeated Sami Zayn by pinfall, 32 minutes and 20 seconds, even though we take off the first 6 because they were just standing in the ring talking or looking at each other from across the ring. So he retains the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Thoughts on the match before we get to the post-match?
Not crazy about it. A little bit overbooked, obviously. 2 ref bumps is overbooked. Pretty predictable as Roman Reigns matches go. I don't think anybody went into this match thinking that it was going to go any different, not even talking about the outcome, just like the actual wrestling. I don't think anybody went into this match thinking that it wasn't going to be exactly what it was, which kind of sucks. You've got the Sami, like, kind of getting the upper hand, but it's never believable that at any point that he's going to win. You do the visual win with the ref bump where he gets like a 10 count pin. You do a second ref bump after that, where then you kind of tell some more of the Jey Uso story or whatever. Like, the match itself was just a match. I think that's the problem with it. Like, you go into it, and the story overshadows the match. And that's not a bad thing in the sense that, like, it's great that you guys are telling such a compelling story. But it's a bad thing in the sense that you don't really care about what's happening in the match. All you care about is the outcome, because the outcome determines where the story is going from here, as far as like what the WrestleMania match is going to be, what the Kevin Owens situation is, like what the Jey Uso situation is, how fucked up is the bloodline. You're telling all this stuff, but you're not telling it in the match itself. You kind of are with the ref bump spot, but not really. It's not in the wrestling. And the match that I always go back to with stuff like this, where you have like a really compelling emotional narrative that is being told through the match, is Young Bucks versus Adam Page and Omega at Revolution. That was a match where it had years of story buildup, like a really compelling narrative going into it, where you do care about the outcome. You do want to see what happens between all four of these people. You do like that little tease at the end where it looks like Hangman might fucking buckshot lariat. Like, there's a lot going on in the match, but it's told in the match. And in this match, it seemed like the only part of the story they were able to tell, outside of the ref bump stuff, was that we really don't like each other. And I don't think that makes a compelling match. I don't think that they worked it into the booking enough. There were a couple spots, like, you know, Sammy's like getting really fired up and passionate and doing his beatdown stuff and goes outside and kisses his wife and all that stuff, and that's fine. I thought that was cool, like shows a little bit of his character or whatever. There just wasn't enough of it, and it wasn't like when Reigns was on top, it didn't feel like brutal enough. The wrestling just didn't seem to match the story, and it wasn't, it was too predictable. Like, if you told me to write how the match was going to go, the only difference, I think, in how I would have written what was going to happen versus what did happen, like if I had to make a guess as to what, like, because obviously I picked Sami Zayn by DQ as my prediction pick. I didn't really think it was going to happen. I just thought it would be interesting. If I had to write how I thought the match was going to go, it would have been one for one the same through the whole fucking match, except for I probably would have only written in one ref bump instead of two. I think I even said on the prediction show, they're going to do something like give him a visual win where, you know, he gets a 3 count, but the ref's not up or whatever. That's exactly what they did. Every story beat of the match was the exact same as I expected to be, except for there being 2 bumps instead of 1. That's it. And I don't think that makes a good match. I don't think that makes a compelling match. I don't think that makes an interesting match. And the match overall wasn't that interesting. The story was interesting, but the match wasn't.
Yeah, just because it's a long match doesn't mean it's a good match.
Right.
So here's the other thing about it is, where was Solo Sikoa, right?
Yeah,
so
true.
That was a big fucking omission. Like, where the hell was he at? And you also had the fact that while the match is going on, like you said, the story of the match, while it's when the bell rings, the story of the match is, hey, I'm in my hometown and I got all these people behind me and I got a shot. And then it was like they kind of paused the actual outside bloodline storyline while that's going on. And then as soon as the match finally ends, that's when we go back to the bloodline storyline.
Yeah.
With everybody coming in, the Jimmy Uso, the Jey Uso, Owens coming out. That's really just making your point for you, honestly, with the Revolution comparison.
Right.
Whereas in the Young Bucks versus Kenny Omega and Adam Page match, you didn't have to pause it to see what happened because it directly was the story in the fucking match. Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the other thing I didn't like about this match, and like I said, the match wasn't awful. It's just not great to what. Like, if it was just that match and there was no bloodline storyline and it was always built on, hey, I'm from Montreal and I got a shot, then that match would have been all right, honestly. Yeah. But with all the other attachments and the long build-up and all the emotions involved, it kind of was a letdown. The other thing I didn't like was after the match when Kevin Owens finally fucking came out. Finally came out. That was super fucking annoying to me personally. Because you had your friend in here getting fucked up by 3 different dudes throughout this match with the ref bumps. Well, not 3, but 2, and then we'll count Jay as a distraction. So
Paul Heyman beating on.
Yeah, well, oh Jesus Christ. Usos. Anyway, so you had that going on, and where were you at? You gonna wait till he loses, then gets beat down some more after the match, then your music is gonna play and you come out, and I'm sitting there like, are you fucking kidding me? Where the fuck were you at, dude? And then, okay, I'll give you a pass because you're kind of weary about Sami Zayn, but you clearly see him getting his ass kicked. And the whole reason that he's getting his ass kicked like he is by Roman is because he wouldn't do the job on you. So you should already be like, okay, I at least owe him one, right? You come out late as fuck, you move out of the way so he can haluva kick Roman, and you go outside and pop up powerbomb Jimmy through the table on the announce table or whatever. And there's no connection between Owens and Sami after the fact in front of that Montreal crowd. No hug, no handshake, no fist bump. I thought that was a huge missed opportunity in front of that crowd in that moment between Owens and Sami, especially if you're on the road to Owens and Sami against the Usos at WrestleMania.
It seemed like they were trying to drag the story out for the next however long they need to do it, 2 months, month and a half, whatever it ends up being. And yeah, I mean, they could have done something. It didn't have to be like the full fucking Golden Lovers re-embrace confetti shit. They didn't have to do all that. It literally just could have been a fist bump, like you said. And I don't know.
It could have been the same fist bump that him and Jey Uso gave each other on SmackDown. Could have just been that fucking like the forearm fist bump thing that he did with Jey Uso on SmackDown with him and Owens. Because I know they still have to tell the story of Jey now getting speared by Sami,
which is gonna suck. This story's gonna suck.
No, I agree with that.
There's no way to tell this story in a way that makes sense because
of why Jey should be mad at Sami.
Right. Jay's gonna be mad at Sami because Reigns pulled him into a spear or moved out of the way of a spear or whatever the fuck. I don't remember the exact specifics. But like, if you go back and watch it, it's very obvious to anyone that Sami's not hitting you on purpose. So you're gonna be mad about that? Like, if that's the story they're telling out of this, it's fucking stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think you had said before too, like they've already set the precedent in storyline that Jey knows how to go back and look at old footage with the trial thing, right?
Yeah.
So how do you tell the story that he doesn't know how to go back and look at footage?
How am I supposed to believe that Jey Uso is dumb enough to not go look at the footage from the pay-per-view that just happened so he can see what the hell just happened? Why did Sami hit me? But
you hit me on purpose.
He was so in-depth and thorough to pull up fucking 5 different clips to prove that Sami Zayn deserved to still be in the bloodline.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with this or why. Now, hopefully, they don't sell that as like a, oh, I'm mad at you now. It's just like a little bit of like tension. They're still relatively cool, but then they've got to do something else with it out of that. I don't know, but that better not be the reason for the split, because if it is, that's the dumbest shit. And you can't tell this story as Jey and Jimmy are still super cool on the same page with Roman, because before that happened, Roman slaps the shit out of Jey twice. And Jey doesn't hit Sami with the chair like Roman's trying to get him to. So the whole thing, you can't tell this story and act like the bloodline is fine. You can't reasonably, logically tell the story and act like Jey should be super fucking mad at Sami. So I don't know what they do out of this, but hopefully they're not so lazy that they're going to be like, oh, you hit me when I was trying to help you, bro. Like, we're not cool now. That's the dumbest fucking thing possible.
Is it possible that we get Sami and Owens versus the Usos, they win the titles, and it gets to the point where it's Roman, Jimmy, and Solo versus Jey, Sami, and Owens?
Maybe.
At a pay-per-view. And then we get back into main event Jey going against Roman. Not for the titles, because we both think Cody's winning the titles at Mania, obviously. But just to put over Jey as a singles star on his way out to not being full-time anymore.
Yeah, on Roman's way out, you mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could do that. I think the Jimmy Jey story is going to be interesting because Jimmy's always been pretty much in lockstep with Reigns, whereas Jey isn't. The Solo Sikoa thing, I think we mentioned this last week, but they don't really touch on this a lot on television, but Solo was actually their brother.
Yeah, so they could easily just plug Jimmy and Solo as the new Usos.
Yeah.
And have Jey go off and be the new singles guy.
Yeah.
After being the new tribal chief because he defeated Roman.
But the whole thing where it's like, oh yeah, Solo was closer to Reigns than the other two. Like, really? He's literally their fucking little brother.
Another reason why it was very weird that he wasn't out there
at
Elimination Chamber. Like, I thought that was a really weird omission that nobody was talking about. Like, why wasn't Cole and Corey Graves and all these people talking about why the fuck was Solo not out there?
Part of it too might just be that they didn't, like, WWE didn't want to have him flown out, pay for all that shit, whatever, just to have him do a spot where he's not really needed to tell that story, I guess. Because it gets convoluted at the point where you have Solo out there not doing anything, you know what I mean? Because it's not like he's going to beat up Jay. And it's not like, I mean, you could have him come out with Jimmy and help Jimmy beat up Sami, I guess. But it doesn't really add it.
Well, they could have had a nice spot because usually he comes out with them with Paul too. So it could have had a nice spot where he got involved in the match and he got speared and Sami moved out of the way and Roman speared Solo and even have more tension within the group type deal. Yeah. Like Solo's holding him or something and Sami gets out and Roman spears him while the ref is down type deal.
Yeah.
And then people really would, that would have been a crazy false finish, right? That would have been fucking nuts. Mm. So like you do that and then Roman's in the corner like looking at Solo because he just got speared out of the ring. And then that's when he turns around and gets Haluva kicked, and people think that fucking Roman's about to lose. The ref gets in there, fucking back up to his feet or whatever, does the pinfall at 2.99999 or whatever.
I felt like there was definitely more interesting booking they could have done in this match than they did. I didn't hate the match though. I don't want it to come off like I thought it was a bad match. I just thought that the match was too separate from the story until.
Well, okay, so what we're saying is we didn't like the match with the story surrounding the match, but in a vacuum, if you take out the story around it, because they didn't really fuck with the story inside that match, the match itself is fine. It's just you wanted to be connected to the actual fucking long ass story that was built up to that match to begin with. The whole reason that we were excited about the match to begin with, then you completely ignored all that until the very end of the match. It didn't make any sense.
Where they really booked themselves into a corner with that, I feel like, was having Reigns tell the Usos not to come to Montreal. I don't know why I thought my voice just got there. Telling him not to come to Montreal, because if they had come out with him at ringside for the entire match, there's a lot more you can do with like facial expressions, like fucking like points where Jay could have interfered but doesn't. Like there's a lot of stuff you can do with that, and tell that same story throughout the match, but they just don't do it.
Or they could have had it where he said, yeah, y'all coming back, y'all gonna come out with me and make sure nobody's fucking around, make sure Owens doesn't come back, actually mention it, and then only have Solo and Jimmy come out with them, with Paul, and then they keep fucking around, and every time Sami's got the upper hand, they're fucking with a ref or something, he's getting punched, and then Jimmy or Jay comes through the audience like he did on SmackDown to help out Jimmy with the tag team match. Everybody loses their fucking mind, and he's standing in fucking Sami's corner. Doesn't really help him, but now nobody's fucking with Sami Zayn, and it's literally just Roman. I mean, even that little bit would have been more connection to the story than they actually did.
Or if you really wanted to throw some shit in there, when you had Reigns come out first. Reigns comes out, he can come out with Heyman and Solo and maybe Jimmy or whatever, but then just have Jay fucking come out with Sami. That sets up that like gap in the bloodline way fucking better, I feel like, than doing some of the other stuff that they ended up doing. But yeah, there's a lot of ways to tell this, and I think they kind of fumbled on not doing some of the more interesting ones. Still
overall grade for Elimination Chamber, what are we giving it?
Ooh.
Grade wise, obviously.
Bobby Lashley match sucked. The whole Elimination Chamber match could have just not happened. Maybe like a C+. It wasn't bad. It advanced some stuff. Maybe a B-, because I thought the women's Elimination Chamber match was pretty good. And I did, for what it was, the mixed tag match was pretty good. But a match with, or a card with 5 matches, and then 2 of them are kind of eh. Because the men's Elimination Chamber match, it had cool spots, but overall, it just felt like it was pointless. So
yeah, I'm giving it a C+.
Yeah,
I'll give it a C+.
I'll go C+.
I'll give it a C+. I really liked Montez Ford, the way he came off in that match. I think that was really a match to help build him up.
I liked Asuka winning.
The Roman Sami Zayn match in a vacuum was really good.
Asuka winning.
Asuka winning obviously was a plus because we both picked her, and it was really like any other option. I would have been killing that match on the show today. And then of course,
what's funny about that is
Edge and Beth Phoenix, like you said, did really good.
The women's Elimination Chamber match. If anyone but Asuka had won, I would have fucking hated her. And the Elimination Chamber match for the men's, if anyone but Austin Theory had won, I would have been fine with it.
Dude, I was so mad because I'm sitting there like, I picked Austin Theory, so obviously for the show, for this little virtual title underneath me, I have to go for this man. But he's the only one I don't want to win.
Yeah.
I don't like Austin Theory. In the press conference after the show, he came off like a dumbass. Like, he kept contradicting himself. He's the first one that comes out there on the presser. Watch the presser. He literally says the opposite of everything he just said and completely contradicts. He contradicts himself like 3 or 4 times. He's not good on the mic still. I just do not like Austin Theory for other reasons outside of, real life stuff that's been going on.
Why isn't Ariel Helwani there to ask him the tough question?
He'll probably have him on his show soon. Don't worry.
But yeah, I mean, Bronson Reed, I obviously would have been totally fine with because that's who I picked. Damian Priest, it's not like I'm crazy about him, but it gives him something to do, right? It makes one member of the Judgment Day get some more credibility back, makes their faction seem relevant and important.
Yeah, leading up to WrestleMania when Rhea gets her shot. Yeah.
Right. Johnny Gargano, if he had won, like, the crowd is not reacting to Johnny right now, but I feel like they would have taken him seriously if he had won the match. And with the way that you booked the finish, anyone could have done that. Anyone could have had Logan Paul come in, fuck up Seth Rollins, and then get the pin off of it. Anyone. Montez Ford would have been a huge catapult for him and his singles stuff. Rollins as U.S. champion, never a fucking bad idea, and gives actual stakes to the Logan Paul match if you really still wanted to do that for some reason.
No joke. Montez Ford would have been awesome against Logan Paul at WrestleMania. It would have been awesome for Montez Ford. Logan Paul is going to make a shit ton of money regardless of who he's against because you've already signed him and he's going to get the big WrestleMania check.
Yeah.
And you could have built this all off of the fact that Logan Paul says he's the most athletic person in WWE or whatever and all this stuff, and everybody else outside says that Montez Ford is the most athletic person. So then Montez Ford could have been like, hey, I take offense to that type of deal. I'm the most athletic person. I don't give a shit who you are. And then if we can prove it at WrestleMania, that would have been a nice little setup.
And it's like, it's not the greatest premise. It's a little bit flimsy, but it doesn't matter because it's a celebrity match. The whole reason of having Logan Paul there is that you want to draw in people who give a shit about Logan Paul.
Yes, I don't need 8 months of build-up for this.
Right. Exactly.
It's literally Logan Paul versus whoever, and I think Montez Ford can give him just as good a match as fucking Seth Rollins can.
Yep, I agree.
Hey guys, did you like that video? If so, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. You can also catch full episodes of the MonsterCast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, and you can also catch us live every Sunday on Twitch. All links in the description below, along with some sweet merch from yours truly, the MonsterCast. Deuces.